Well, howdy, howdy. Welcome back to the RedAss podcast. Second one this season. We're still excited to be here. We're rocking and rolling. I'm certainly happy to be up and moving on this rather slow and goofy Monday morning. But for those of you who don't know, my name is Rob White, class of 14.
And my name is Roy May, class of 15, and
And
it's beautiful outside.
I opened up the door this morning. It was 68 degrees. Absolutely phenomenal. AC wasn't running this morning. What a concept.
Yeah, because I'm the old man, so like I get up and I watch the weather, like not like on TV, but I get up and I'll find KBTX wherever they put it on Twitter. They do their little morning like 90-second little forecast thing,
Mm-hmm.
and to see rain in the forecast and it not just be like a tease. So I'm excited for that because Lord knows we need some rain.
Yeah, my yard has been uh, pretty much in a thirst for the last several months, and there's no question. I think
It's so,
rain's
dude,
needed.
it's so bad. But like I'm trying when they asked for water conservation, all that. So I'm trying to do my part, and I finally got to the point. I was just like, you know what? I don't even know there's any point in watering it at all. So my grass is. I don't know if I'm going to need to resod my entire yard at this point next year, but we shall see.
Yeah, I'm definitely in my backyard. I think that's going to be the main focus for resodding. I think that's the joys of being in a brand new neighborhood. They go in and clear out the land, but they don't do a proper job of getting all the weeds out, and so it turns into a whole it's
Well,
a whole
I
ordeal.
was, I was telling Megan yesterday, like the yard's gone to crap because I can't water it enough, and I'm not going to water it every day. Like that's nonsense considering how much drought level we're experiencing in Texas. And then we have an issue like end up with out in our shed. We get freaking mice out in our shed.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with that. Then our AC tries to take a crap on us. So dealing with no AC in the summer, get that remedied. My plumbing goes out across the entire house. And I told her yesterday, I said, I think my favorite like part of being a homeowner is when I wasn't a homeowner.
Right.
It's like it's the old saying, I guess all the warranties ran out yesterday. It's time for everything to break.
So, and I had a similar situation with my garage door. For whatever reason, we were having issues with running it on the tracks. They sent out somebody to come fix it. He didn't fix it. Then I contacted him back and said, well, hey, there's still an issue here. But it had gone over warranty at that moment. I'm like, it's already been scheduled. Y'all didn't fix it the first time. It's like, let's just fix. And then, of course, it's like all of a sudden it's a convenience for me, for them to come out and work on it for me. Like I'm having to, oh, I'm sorry, you had to go out of your way to come help me when it
Yeah,
was already on your schedule. Just
that's what
get
I
it
was.
done.
Yeah, I was telling you offline about like I brought a plumber out on a Sunday, so I don't even want to see that invoice yet. But I brought a plumber out on a Sunday, and he tries to run the snake to fix it. He runs it out 100 some odd feet, and my depth to off of my property isn't that long, so he's way past my property line from my washout. He goes, all right, well, it's got to be a problem with the city because this has happened once before since we lived here. So it's
Mm.
got to be a problem with the city. We called the city. They were incredibly responsive. They came right out and the dude checks everything out. He comes back to the front door, knocks on the door, and whatever. He goes, okay, yeah, it's not on our end. I'm like, all right, well, whose end is it on? So now I got the plumbers coming back out today, and they're also going to be consulting with the city. So that's my Monday.
And yeah, just the Mondayest of Mondays as it possibly could be for Aggies
But it,
across the board.
oh, yeah,
I think,
that was a brutal performance in Miami.
yeah. So okay, so nice little segue there. So Miami, half empty stadium, just not a lot of vibe in the building, and you come out and it's just felt especially flat in the second half. Like you start off the game so strongly and things are looking really well. And you get spotted basically 14 points right out the gate, and then you can't do anything with it. Like just everything falls apart. What
Yeah,
happened?
everything seems so positive in the beginning, and you can't rely on your special teams to either yours or theirs to basically produce points on a like regular basis. Almost to an extent, when you look at special teams, you just hope they don't cost you points.
Right.
Which that ended up occurring later in the game. It was flat performance. Miami threw the kitchen sink at us and we couldn't deal with it. I thought Connor played great. He just,
Yeah.
but he's running around with his hair on fire most of the game too, though, with between all the pressures and the sacks and the blitzing, and it was just, it was a lot, and you can't sit there and say, well, he's young. That's not it. Just any quarterback dealing with that kind of pressure is going to have a pretty hard time.
Well, yeah.
So, but again, big performance put in by Evan Stewart, went out and put in a shift. It's just, I was surprised that, well, you know what? I don't even know why I'm surprised anymore, but I was surprised that there weren't more adjustments in the second half on the offensive line. And I was shocked that we got zero pressure on their quarterback and we just let him sit back there and absolutely kill us. And it's not for lack of talent. And so if it's not the talent, there's really only other two things it can be. It's the development of talent, which I don't think we're turning 5 stars into 3 stars. It's play calling. That's kind of what it is. It's defensive play calling. And I thought it was abysmally just weak. It was almost more the, play not to lose, which I don't know. I'm not even going to get into talking about ULM this weekend because quite frankly, one, I have no idea what they're going to roll out, and and two, like there's no reason to have any expectations right now.
No,
you can expect that we'll beat the non-conference cupcakes in theory because week one we did show up and do what we were supposed to do, but we went out and got beat like a drum on Saturday, so. And it's not like we only put up 10 points either.
No, I think that's the frustrating part for me is the fact that you scored 33 points in this game. And in the modern game of football, anything over about 30 points, getting upwards of 35, if you do well enough on the defensive side of the ball, that's more than enough to win most games.
Well, and what killed me too was, just the point swings. You false start down there going for it on 4th and short. So you basically turn 7 into 3. So there's 4 points you gave up. Yeah. At the end of the half, you miss a field goal. So so now we're at 7 that we've given up. Giving up a kickoff returns another 7. So now you're at 14. And then you have another drive stall out like inside the 5. Evan Stewart he made a bad cut and didn't go upfield. To secure what would have been a first down. And you can't necessarily count that as a 4-point swing, but if you do, like now we're well over what the game ended at as far as margin of victory.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to do. And quite frankly, I'm glad that I'm not going to be on the practice field and in film room this week because that's not going to be a very pleasant experience. And it shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be. And, give full credit to Miami. I mean, looking at, Tyler Van Dyke, he went out there and just had a monster performance. I mean, you put up almost 400 yards passing and you're averaging, 12 and a half yards per, and then 5 touchdown passes, no picks. I mean, that's a winning performance.
Yeah. This is in no way to disparage what Miami did. We didn't give the game away. They just went out and beat us. It's just flat out. They went out and played a really good game. If I had to point to one thing that kind of makes me want to barf, it was like 241 yards after the catch, 241 yak. No, that just can't happen.
No,
period. I don't care what team you are. So the secondary film room, I'm sure, is going to be a real hoot this week for those guys. But I also hope that as a coaching staff, they're also sitting in film room and, I mean, obviously, let's hope they learn from their mistakes or, those are grown men on salary. I hope they're getting yelled at. Like, I hope they're getting absolutely trashed in film room. You're a grown man, you're on salary. This is a profession. Volunteering, you're not donating some of your time on a Saturday afternoon, although our defense kind of looked like our defensive coordinator just decided to donate his time for 3.5 hours on Saturday.
All right.
So it's, we'll see. Because right now, next week, ULM isn't going to tell us anything. So then you have to look, then you got to start looking down the schedule. You got Auburn and Arkansas. Got to win them. Got to win them.
Yep. I'm right there with you. I think going forward to get any confidence back in this coaching staff, in particular with our head coaches as well as defense, I think the main thing we're going to need to see is some really solid effort in Auburn and Arkansas, in particular for me, adjustments after halftime. That was one thing that we saw happen consistently under Mike Elko. If we had a rough first half defensively, we made the adjustments. I mean, we saw it every single game in
Maybe not all the
2020.
adjustments, but we sure looked like we had tried to make the adjustments.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
just rinse, wash, and repeat after halftime. That's
yeah.
what we did.
Yeah, it looks very much like we've just gone down the road and just kicked the can. Like, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be what it's going to be. No, you have to make adjustments. You have to grow. You have to understand the changing of game flow, which has been a struggle. Not only yes, offensively and defensively. It's just there's a lot that the coaching staff, for whatever reason, they don't like to make those type of adjustments. And especially last year, and it's starting to creep its ugly head in this year. And we all know how things went last year. We don't want that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Well, it should be Auburn at home though, because it's Auburn and Alabama. They're always both home or both away, so it should be Auburn at home.
Yeah, they're at home.
Yeah.
So that'll be. Hey, we got that going for us at least. Next couple of games. We're back at Kyle. Take care of business against ULM like you're supposed to.
Get some momentum going, and then go to AT&T, which has turned into a weird game the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
But and of course we still don't have any conference losses.
Right.
So
I mean,
it's still all in front of you in a West that all of a sudden looks incredibly gettable. Like,
yeah,
I think everybody kind of knew that it was going to be down a little bit, but I don't think anybody saw what what Bama was going to do and go out and lay an egg. And I mean, LSU, I think is still up in the air, because I didn't even see the LSU score from last weekend, but I do know that losing to Florida State isn't exactly like the worst thing in the world. I mean, don't get me wrong, like they got thumped in the second half of that game, but that still doesn't necessarily mean that LSU's bad or down. Like I think Florida State's really, really good this year.
Yeah, no, LSU, I mean, they started off a little slow. They were down they were up 14-10, I think, at the end of the first quarter against Grambling, but then they really turned it up.
That's right. They played Grambling. That's right.
They beat them 72-10. So they turned it up. They did their job.
Did what they were supposed to do.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think right now you just look at the class of the West as LSU.
Yeah.
And I don't care how bad they got thumped by Florida State. I mean, I think Florida State's a legitimate team. Now, the question is Texas a legitimate team? Because if so, then maybe, Alabama losing to Texas isn't that big of a deal. Maybe they're not as down as we'd like them to be.
Well, and, Ole Miss, obviously, they played a tough opponent in Tulane. He was also ranked, and it was a tough ranked matchup that Ole Miss pulls out. Senior loaded Mississippi State has looked very good through the first couple of games. They're one of only two teams, I think they said, across the SEC that has a Power 5 win to start off the year, which is kind of a weird little go with the way the conference has played. But, the West is extremely open, and all we have to do is make our adjustments with the talent that we know we have and go out there and do the damn thing.
So we just got to make the adjustments.
I mean, we have to make.
So we're screwed.
Yeah, and we are screwed. That's fine. Old DJ Durkin. I mean, Jerkin, since there's no D involved anyway. We're not going to go into that too deep.
Well, there was some reprieve for at least part of the A&M, football fan base, though, on Sunday. If you're an Aggie and you're a Texan, then it was kind of, unfortunately, business as usual. But if you're an Aggie and you're a Cowboy, that was quite a performance by the Cowboys. And again, that's one of those things where I know the Giants made the playoffs last year, and that was the first time in a long time for them. So I don't know if they took a step backwards the Cowboys played kind of a flawless game. I'll be honest, I didn't watch much of it last night. I was watching something else on TV, and the game started, and then I got an alert about the field goal getting blocked for a touchdown, and then basically I don't know if it was immediately after, but they had a pick six, and my first thought was, I'm sure they'll be fine. I'm going to keep watching what I'm enjoying on TV right now.
No question.
I maybe watched like 3 minutes of the Cowboys game, which is very unlike me, but I think I was also a little football exhausted.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily blame you there. I mean, there were some damn good games yesterday, some really tight games, as well as some stinkers. I mean, my Steelers did not do anything at all at home against a good 49ers team. But,
Well, and the other
Browns came out and smashed on the Bengals.
yeah, I mean, I saw some interesting scores, but I also had an open house yesterday from noon to 3. So by the time I got home, like the entire
Yeah.
first round of games is over, and I wasn't in the mood to watch the second round because I mean, I had the Bears game on,
Mm-hmm.
but I really wasn't paying attention to it. Uh,
Yeah.
Although, man, for what I did see, the Bears might want to go out and possibly buy an offensive line because it didn't look like they had much of one.
Yeah, Packers definitely turned it up the second half, won that game pretty handily. But yeah, no, Cowboys come out and pretty much, hair on fire. You score 16 in the first quarter. I mean,
Yeah, well, and over and in the NFL, you don't see blowouts as often. So when you see something like a 40-0 score, that's not a fluke, and that's not a non-conference cupcake. That's another NFL team, and on top of that, it's an NFC East team, and so there's always a little bit more hatred, when they play each other. And so, I mean, I'm gonna have to go back and look at the highlights, but quite frankly, 40-0 in the NFL is quite a feat.
it is a feat, and it's not, as you said, it's a rare instance. So it's cool to see that happen, especially if you happen to be a Cowboys fan. Obviously, me personally, not so much, but hey, you know what? That's okay. Hey, it's
Well, it's
good
just
for the fan base.
yeah, it's I mean, it's just surprising to see in the NFL. And so, maybe there's something there, but again, that's week 1. But at the same time, it was 40-0 in week 1. It wasn't week 16 where somebody's trying to get a good draft spot,
Mm-hmm.
and testing out newer players. That's obviously everybody's got some players dinged up, but that's the best roster that the Giants are pretty much going to roll out on the field this year, barring
Mm-hmm.
maybe a couple people they're missing. But the only one I saw big time that looked like he didn't make it was in question of making the game was their tight end.
Yeah.
And he ended up playing. So
Yeah, certainly made
I
for.
will be dropping their kicker though, because he got me -5 points.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean,
If I had not started a kicker, I would have had 5 more points. Like literally leaving the spot vacant. And let me touch back on something, and I hate to see it because he's had such a tough road. But what did I say about J.K. Dobbins? He's an unbelievable talent, and he's one of those players whose career has just been injury bit, man.
mm-hmm.
It's awful because I heard that I was on my way home and I heard that on the radio. Because we get the Texans broadcast, on the radio. So I was
Mm-hmm.
driving home and I heard him talking about, he had to have 2 trainers help him off the field, and like it's so terrible, man.
Yeah, I mean, torn Achilles, that's never a good deal. And
Oh, speaking of injuries, though, I did see a tweet that kid from Miami looks like he's gonna looks like he's gonna be fine. The one that they had to
good,
cart off, and
good.
there's a picture of him in the hospital, surrounded by family, mom and dad on either side. So he was, they had the hospital bed propped up, and they were giving the U hand sign. So
That's
yeah,
always a good thing because at the end of the day, these are people and these are kids, and
that was tough to watch. And as soon as he went down, I saw him, basically clench his hand once, and I was like, woof, he's at least stone cold out. But that's enough football talk for me.
and fair enough.
I'm ready for the Premier League to come back next weekend.
You know what? Me too. This international break this week. I mean, I was definitely chomping at the bit for something additional positive because I mean, the U.S. was going to do what they were going to do, so I wasn't really worried about that. I'm definitely feeling good on Premier League right now. The league's fun right now.
It's weird because we're only a handful of weekends into the Premier League season, and I woke up Saturday morning and I was like, man, I got nothing to do.
Yeah.
Because again, like that's the best thing about being like like both football fans. Because you wake up and unless you're like getting up at 4 a.m,
yeah,
you wake up and Premier League is on. You can watch Premier League all the way until the first college football games kick off. So you want to talk about a full day? Like you could literally get a full day of all of the football that you could want. So Saturdays are so great.
Oh yeah.
Especially when you're a Premier League fan. Yeah, like I mean, I live in this alternate reality right now where the Cowboys look like world beaters. A&M football is stumbling a little bit, and West Ham is good. So I really don't like. Nobody pinch me. I'll stick with it.
I will say right now, just looking at the Premier League standings through 4 games, granted 4 games played at this point, that's it. But I mean, your top teams behind City, is in the points right now are Tottenham, Liverpool, West Ham, and Arsenal.
Yeah, two of those 5, Tottenham and West Ham, sold their biggest player.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've reinvested the money really well on our
Yeah.
signings. So I don't know. I don't know, man. I'll ride the wave as long as it lasts. Because as a West Ham fan, I'm expecting a downturn, but as an
Mm.
A&M football fan, I'm expecting an upturn, knowing how Jimbo's teams do get better as the season progresses.
Sure. And I like to think that things are going to turn around and get better on that front as well. But yeah, Premier League this year. Obviously
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I mean, even being a Liverpool guy, we lost Hendo to the Saudi leagues as well as a handful of other players who felt the need to go do that. But that whole situation.
So we actually had one of our players, Aguerd, Naif Aguerd. He apparently he was approached by multiple Saudi teams,
Mhm.
and he told them both. He's like, no, I'm not going. He's like, I love West Ham. I'm not leaving. So that's like a breath of fresh air because
Yeah.
obviously they offered him more money than he's making now. The Saudis can offer whatever they want. They can literally just write blank checks.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, no, I'll take the Premier League success as long as it'll roll, and even when we stink, it's not like I'm going to stop watching. So
Exactly. I mean, these are my teams. I'm a Liverpool guy. I'm going to keep pulling
it's
for them.
speaking
That's
of
the way it
guys
is.
y'all lost. I mentioned this in our little group tweet message thing, but seeing Milner in anything other than a Liverpool kit it's always going to be weird to me.
It is. I know
It
because
was I had forgotten he went to Brighton until I was watching a match and they're like James Milner, and I looked up. I was like, holy crap, it's the same guy. It's actually him.
just not wearing red. It's weird.
Yeah, it looks weird, man. But I think it's shaping up for like a wildly entertaining season just across the board in Premier League. I think so many of the transfer moves, like literally across the entire table. I think it's going to make it interesting. There's a lot of new names.
Mhm.
I'm intrigued by Newcastle not being able to buy victories this early in the season
Yeah,
because
novel
the
thought.
second half of the season, that's what they did.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And I didn't think that experiment would work, making those many changes in the middle of the season, but clearly it did,
Yeah,
and not that Newcastle is going to be down forever, but I'm surprised at their lack of success given the roster that they bought.
yeah.
Maybe
I
that's a
will
good
say
way to put it.
things that I am happy to see in the Premier League right now. I love the fact that Everton is struggling so hard as a Liverpool guy because that's just something that
Well, yeah,
there,
it's
there's a lot of beef there. So
well,
it's
well, from that extent, then you've enjoyed the last however many seasons because Everton's been flirting with relegation more so than we have, I think, the last 3 seasons.
no, the literally came down to the last game last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then another team that is an old Liverpool rival from the 70s and the 80s that has reintroduced themselves to the Premier League, that being Nottingham Forest. It's so good to see them sticking around because I
Yeah,
was a little worried that they were gonna bounce back down.
well, and you're always at the beginning of the season, you always say, "Hey, what are your predictions for who's going to win the league? Do your ECL, your Europa, and who's going to go down?" And generally, it's always the easiest to pick the three that just came up, right? Because
Always.
because more often than not, you're going to be right. You're probably going to hit on two or three. Like I would be
Mhm.
shocked if Luton Town stays up.
Yeah.
Like absolutely shocked. Burnley,
Yeah.
I can't imagine being a fan of clubs like that. You're like up at the Premier League for a year or two, then you're down for a couple of years, then you're up, and then you're down.
Mhm.
Like I've
Oh,
that'd be too much for me, man.
who's oh god, there's one team, and I feel like they fit that bill more so than every other team every year. And I'm
Well,
gonna
they're out of it this year. Like I think it's somebody that went. Well, I mean, Bournemouth is one that goes up and down.
right
Burnley goes.
Norwich City for
Norwich.
me. Yeah, Norwich is always that team. Like they're up down up down up down
Yeah,
every
they never.
single year.
Well, it's because when they come up, they never last. Like I
Yeah.
I just Norwich doesn't stick around the Premier League for like 8 or 9 years at a time.
Yeah. I mean, it would be like, yeah, we'll use a good example. It's like the University of Houston. If they got promoted to the Big 12 and then got sent back down, and it just kept happening like that.
Yeah, it's
Grant,
like a right on the cusp team.
yeah, it's like they're just not quite getting
Never
enough sustainability to maintain Premier League status, and that's
can't
rough.
quite figure it out.
Yep.
Well, can't quite figure it out how to sustain the success. Yeah.
You know,
So,
big.
and really, I mean, as far as predicting the league, I mean, I think it's easiest just to predict everything starting with second because I mean, till proven otherwise, City's winning the league.
It's always City, man. I feel like it's just
I like.
consistently City, man.
I don't. I may be in the minority here, but I love Pep Guardiola. I absolutely love Pep. I
I
think he's
think
a hoot. I
he's
think
a
he's a hoot.
phenomenal manager. He's a
Well,
great manager. I've always been a big fan of him from a personality standpoint, and his style is phenomenal. Obviously, the biggest issue amongst most of the fandom, including myself, is obviously ownership because they can literally just buy whoever they want
well, and
at all times.
that's the one question I think that exists in his resume. It's like
Yeah.
the one blank spot is can he do it with a club without like just an absolute loaded arsenal of championship players?
Like
Not championship, but yeah,
take him out and drop him off at Fulham.
drop him
Go
off at West Ham.
go drop him off at West Ham. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, see
You
if he
know,
can sustain that success. But either way, I mean, he cemented himself, as one of the probably one of the greatest of all times with the the hardware that he's racking up.
no question. He falls in line with the Sir Michaels, Fergusons, and all those. All the great names. I mean, there are so many great names.
You win that much 10, like that's just how it goes. Nobody's and that's the thing. I don't think because the sport has changed so much with how much money is involved in it. Talking about the record amount of money spent on transfers this past year. About 90% of that was Chelsea, but man, how they cook those books over there, I'll never know.
Never know.
But because he's in the era that he's in, I don't think that will necessarily ever tarnish his legacy as one of the greatest managers. Like Mandy always had great players. Well, you still got to win, I guess.
Well, you always have to win.
And,
Yeah.
and having the best players and winning the Premier League there's something to be said for that. Having the best players and going out and winning trebles, like come on, man.
Yeah.
Like it's the trebles is where he really sets himself apart, despite even with the players he has.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see that, at least for him, obviously City as a team, Liverpool, it's been a back and forth deal there. But the fact that they finally got over the hump for Champions League, because that had always been the
That was
dangling
the bugaboo.
carrot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a dangling carrot, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, you can win Premier League all day. Sure, go win an FA Cup. Yeah, go take a Carabao Cup. Whatever.
Yeah, now go do something in Europe.
Yeah, go do something in Europe, which is always at least
Pep
for
said, okay, I mean.
Yeah, for like English teams, that's always been Liverpool's realm. Like, six league, six Champion League titles, which is more so than the rest of England combined. And now the only other team really past you on that lineup, of course, is Real Madrid, because Lord knows their history.
Well, yeah. But if City sticks around long enough, that could be threatened.
It could be.
If City keeps it intact and they keep Pep, I mean, there's no reason to think that he's not going to continue to have success.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not going to be Liverpool this year.
Their bench players wouldn't get relegated if you took an entire club and literally filled it with nothing but City's bench. I bet you they could stay up.
I think you're right.
In fact, I bet they'd be mid-table.
They very well could be.
Which is why it's frustrating knowing how much money they spend. We're all around here, sucking wind, trying to make things work, and City just has the embarrassment of riches. But whatever. But that's the sport now. So you either get owners that'll support and pump money into the club, or or you go down pretty much, or you're just fine with being between 12th and 15th for the remainder of your club's history, pretty much.
I hate to use this term, but it's pay to play, man. If you want to stay up, you got to throw money into your club. That's just the deal.
And the one thing that I will say that I think is, I don't know if it's good or not, just because athlete salaries are completely out of control, but
yeah,
you can turn right around and say, yeah, but what the ownership's getting, it's only fair, which again, maybe it's just the amount of money period involved is completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the Saudis, and the Saudi leagues dumping all this money at Premier League players, I think has made clubs, it heightened their awareness, and they're like, okay, we're actually going to have to come after these players. Unfortunately, you still have the English tax, on some players. Is Declan Rice worth $11 billion? I don't know, but that's what we got for him,
Yeah.
So it's set a bar though that I think is going to make some of these clubs that do have true, and they're like mid-table clubs generally, and West Ham's one of them.
Yeah.
We finished 10 to 12, 15th. It's kind of just how we roll. Every once in a while, we'll jump up to a 7, seventh place finish. But we understand that you can't just kind of scrape by and budget players and put together a club that's going to stay up. Like, you're going to have to spend the money. You're going to have to go get the players. And if you really want to succeed, you're going to have to go get the right players. And the right players generally cost more money. Like, Vladimir Sufal that we got for pennies on the dollar, is the exception. Craig Dawson, who we lost to Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Is he like the world's greatest defenseman? No. But we got him for $2 million. And so, in the shifts he put in his performance, but those players are hard to find. And so you got to go out and spend the money. And West Ham did, we got the Declan Rice sail across the line. Then we didn't do anything. And, and we were all about to just burn the whole club down. And then all of a sudden they just reel off a handful of signings. And now that they've been with the club long enough and can play, I think as a fan base, I love seeing James Ward-Prowse in claret and blue, man. That dude's awesome. Absolutely. I love watching him play. So,
yeah.
And so far, the results on the pitch have proven that the strategy was right.
Yeah.
And I think the owners realize that as TV revenue and all the money outside of all the outside, not just the money coming from selling players, and the balance sheet from selling and buying players, but as the revenue as the revenue tends to increase continuously, they know they've got more money, but they know that they've got to spend more money to make that more money. Yeah. And so it makes for some really competitive and fun football.
It does. And it's going to be a very fun season. I'm very much looking forward to really diving in.
And it lasts all year, baby.
Yeah. We're going to be going till May with this stuff. Hell, Champions League for June, man. It's still going to be cruising along. I'm excited. Speaking of leagues that are starting to wrap up, though, looking at MLB right now, and we're kind of coming down to the wire here, especially in the AL West.
Yeah.
It's
anybody's game, I suppose.
It's anybody's game currently,
if I had to, if I had my way, I would take our roster. I would take the Stros roster over Seattle and Texas. Texas is, again, and it's a little late to do a whole lot of shoring up of a bullpen, but boy, that reared its ugly head late in the season. And that is, you'd rather have that rear its ugly head in, March, April.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, the fact is they started off the Rangers started off so hot. I mean, the offense hair on fire. Offense looked incredible. Bullpen was still a little sus, but you still had phenomenal starting pitching.
It was good enough.
But it was good enough. Yeah. And you were putting up stupid numbers, especially in run differential, just beating the dog out of people. Mm-hmm. And then you just kind of ran out of steam down the stretch here. And it all came to a head, this past week, when the Astros made it in what was, in everybody's opinion, the series of the year. And the Astros dogged you on 3 games. It's unfortunate for the Rangers because I'm an Astros fan, obviously, and I'm gonna pump up the Astros any chance I can. But it's good to see the Rangers at least competing and being in the fight.
See, as an Astros fan, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
you love the fact that you can be like, well, there's the Rangers, because they sucked for so long. But as a Astros fan, we remember those. What we have 300 plus lost seasons in a row. So we get it. We've been down in the dumps as well.
Yeah.
We just bounce back first pretty much. Mm-hmm. But so, it's fun to be able to dog your buddies about their, inept baseball team, but it's great for baseball as far as the AL West when pennant races are hotly contested throughout the entire year. And this one has been, I feel like the world of baseball has probably kept their eye on this one a little bit more than they normally would care about the AL West. Mm-hmm. Because it's been bouncing back and forth, and then this surge that the Mariners have gone on to put themselves somewhere in contention. But the firepower that the Stros have, literally between what they roll out and also just still sitting in the dugout, obviously the starting pitching, bringing JV back, the dude just pitches different here, and not to mention, I'd say when you get run support, but we generally don't like to give him run support. But
no.
but you're adding him to what I thought was already a very strong pitching staff. The
Yeah.
bullpen, I think is better than Texas bullpen right now. Obviously,
Yeah.
this is the fun part of baseball is when you've got a tight race heading down the stretch because we're almost midway through September.
Yeah. And it's been definitely a tight race. I mean, Astros
Yep.
currently at this point have opened up for their biggest lead.
2.5 games.
Yeah, we are 2.5 over the Mariners, 3 over the Rangers, and looking at the wild card for our mates over here. Mariners are at the cutoff line right now. Rangers are half a game back. So, you've got obviously the East, who's just for whatever reason, just the AL East is just so dominant every year. And, you got the Rays, who are currently in second place, but they're like 8.5 games up in the wild card. They're so far ahead.
Yeah.
Their league is so good. And I mean, all thought process. I'm looking at the Orioles, man.
I love seeing the Orioles good again. So
Me too.
Growing up, I wasn't an Orioles fan, but man, I was a Cal Ripken Jr. fan, and so it was easy to root for the Orioles and to see them down for so long. I love that the Orioles are playing well. Not to mention they have an absolute elite, logo, the old Oriole. Like it just reminds you of old baseball.
Orioles
with
are
the white
phenomenal.
cap, the white cap helmets too. And the one thing I'll say about baseball, and then we can move on. And I think this is probably this is a horse that I'm just going to continually to beat. I'm last in line. Everybody's probably going to beat this dead horse. For the love of crap, can we get Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout out of Anaheim? We're just wasting their careers.
Please. You're two generational talents. I know that's such a common term that people love to use, but truly, Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout being wasted in Anaheim.
Well,
truly
Mike Trout,
wasted.
So here's the thing. Mike Trout, you can say he's a generational talent because he is. He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani is literally a generational talent. Show me another guy out there throwing as many strikeouts and hit as many bombs.
Yeah.
Like he's different. And he's getting
on a losing team.
And he's getting wasted in Anaheim.
Yeah.
He's literally trying to win the game by himself because he literally, in theory, he really could by both pitching and hitting. If you just would put the other 8 guys out in the field and be like, look, just don't get caught on camera picking your nose or something, man. Just, look cool.
Well, and I always chuckle.
Tell her to be cool. Tell her to be cool.
Tell her to be cool. They always show the graphics, right? Or the made up term where it's like, Shohei goes 3 for 5, pitches whatever. Trout does this, and they still lose the game by a couple of runs because you can't win with 2 players, man.
No. And that they're the perfect example. They're the perfect example that even if you have 2 of the best players currently in the game, it truly is a team sport. And when one of those players is literally playing 2 ways.
Yeah.
And once every 5 days, they finally shut him down from pitching though. But yeah.
Oh, what's going on? My dog is being very, very loud right now. I don't know why. Come on, Bob. Come on, Bob.
Yeah.
But yeah, baseball, fun. Premier League, fun. College football. We'll see how it pans out for us. Could be interesting.
Yeah, I'm just gonna give that my stank face for now.
Hey, that's totally fair. So there was one other topic
but not writing off the season by any means.
No. We're RedAss on this podcast, and we support our boys.
Well, I'll always support them. Look, I heard they can go 5-7 and me still support them. That's the rumor.
Hey, I mean, we did it last year.
But the next time that they're going to change my mind would be Auburn. It's not going to be ULM.
No, I'm with you. I'm right there with you. So one other topic I definitely wanted to touch on before we wrapped up. So it's kind of been in the music community. We've had a handful of losses recently from a few different.
It's been insane.
Yeah. We lost Jimmy Buffett last week, which that was so unfortunate because Jimmy has been such a banner of good timey, good feel music. And I can't go to a beach and I can't go down to my parents' house without thinking about Jimmy, because my parents, for those of you who don't know, my parents just bought and renovated and have a very nice house in Galveston now. And they have a pool set up, the whole deal. It's literally their own little Margaritaville. And
I must have missed my invite.
No, it's been in the mail, son. You're welcome anytime. You know it. Like I
Well,
said,
and
friends
Jimmy,
don't have to ask.
well, Jimmy Buffett, and you talk about a guy that literally just spans all music. Like
Yeah,
it didn't matter. Like Jimmy Buffett was just kind of a really almost a world of his own.
yeah.
Just as far as your favorite kind of music can be this or this or this, but chances are you like Jimmy Buffett.
Mhm.
Like chances are at one point in time or another, you've been at a beach or been at a bar, had a couple too many, it came on and you sang along with it, or you got up with your drunk friends and karaoke Margaritaville, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, but unfortunately, he wasn't the only one.
No, unfortunately not. We lost him. One additional one I thought was really interesting. Steve Harwell for folks in my generation. If you don't know who he is, lead singer for Smash Mouth. Smash Mouth,
Yeah,
who's one of the best bands of the '90s and early 2000s.
the thing came
All
out of the blue.
star,
Yeah,
all
just like
star.
yeah, it just came out of the blue, and it's one of those where we're getting older, but we're not super old. So musicians from our from kind of our genres or our time frames passing
Yeah,
away, it seems really weird.
yeah. We lost him. We lost Dr. John not long ago as well. It's just been this, and this is the one for me. And this is a Texas country one, and it's very, very personable
It's
because his
brutal.
brutal because his music was so influential for so many people, and that's Charlie Robeson. We lost him yesterday at the age of 59. Carson was supposed to hit the road with him literally this past month, like the end of August. He was going because Charlie's not hadn't been playing a lot of shows because he hadn't been doing well.
Right.
And he was supposed to do some theater shows. It was going to be the first show was in Lubbock, the second one was going to be in Dallas. It was going to be Carson, Jack Ingram, and then
No,
Charlie up in Lubbock, and then it was going to be Carson, Chris Knight, and Charlie over in Dallas.
man, Jack Ingram and Charlie in the same ticket. It's stoking some memories for me right there. Those
Yeah.
two used to power my entire weekends listening to
Mm-hmm.
music.
And my guy Carson, he was supposed to open those shows, and the Lubbock and Dallas shows both get canceled because pneumonia. He wasn't feeling good. It's sickness, and as it turns out, then it announced he cancels his Green Hall show that he had
Mhm.
coming up, and it was just kind of the snowballing effect of how sick is he? Well, I guess now we
Right.
know, and a very unfortunate deal. And I've seen so many people sharing memories. Our buddy Adam Drake, who's a phenomenal radio host. He's been great, and so it's been cool to see the amount of love and support for Charlie.
He's
And
only 59. That's so crazy.
yeah, absolutely insane. So I want to say a quick little shout for his family, bandmates, everybody, and as well as the music community for being so very supportive of what's going on there.
Well, and the Texas country kind of community, that really original kind of Texas country, the Pat Green kind of era, Pat
Mm-hmm.
Green, Jack Ingram, obviously Charlie,
Yeah.
you know, they were on the back end of what Robert O'Keefe really got cranking up. So it was kind of that genre of the Texas country sound. So I know all those guys they ran kind of thick as thieves, because that was when we were truly establishing, departing from the Nashville and saying,
Mm-hmm.
hey, no, this is Texas country. This is not Nashville.
Yeah.
So those, and back in the '90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
Started getting reckless, and from that, the groundswell of reckless, Wade Bowen,
Mm-hmm.
just the list goes on and on from really kind of what those guys brought to the table, and they were obviously, Robert O'Keefe been doing it for a long time. Lyle Lovett had been doing it for a long time, but we
Yeah.
finally hit a point where I personally, and this is my opinion, I might be wrong, but because of the internet and because of the ability to more widely kind of advertise your sound and advertise your music,
Mm-hmm.
people were able to get their hands on it, a little easier, and which means it just spread like wildfire because it was great music.
Yeah. When people talk about the modern Texas country red dirt, Mount Rushmore, I think there's no question that Charlie Robeson's on that list. I
So
think,
unique.
I mean, he's so unique, and he's up there. I would throw, honestly, Cross Canadian Ragweed, in particular, Cody Canada.
Yeah.
And the fact that those two, and it was good to see Cody posting about it yesterday, and he was
Mm.
very open about it. And Cody, he's been a great influence for us, as has Charlie. And Charlie for me is such a special one because he wrote songs from a very unique standpoint. And I think, I'm going to ask you this question: what's your favorite Charlie Robinson song that just comes to the top of your head?
Probably Lights 11 County.
That was mine.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody loves My Hometown.
sure, classic.
Back in the days when you could wear a spot thin on a CD, I'm sure I did that to My Hometown.
Yeah,
Yeah, probably likes 11 County.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It just
Loving,
I loved his lyrics, and I always, whenever I like introduced him to somebody that never really listened to Texas country, I said, "Look, this is Charlie Robinson. He's not going to be the best vocalist you'll ever hear in your life, like, but he might be one of the best lyricists you've ever heard in your life." So, like,
phenomenal
and
writer.
never had anybody tell me they didn't like it.
No,
It's just different the way he would, kind of cross singing and talking, and but his lyrics were just top bin, man, top shelf.
they were definitely top shelf. So, we as a band, Carson Jeffrey, we have decided. I think we're going to do a little tribute for him
Oh
this
yeah,
weekend when we play out in Lubbock. Our plan is to cover My Hometown because it's a simple enough song for us to learn on the fly,
yeah,
but and it's well enough known that the crowd will sing along to it and enjoy it, and people will appreciate that. And of course, it's not us trying to be like, oh yeah, Charlie. No, he was an influence and
absolutely.
one of my personal favorites. I mean, one of the first songs I ever learned for a Texas country set was My Hometown, as well as El Cerrito Plays.
Oh yeah.
I used to play with this guy named Landon Evans for several years back, and we used to take El Cerrito Plays, and we would just go off on the end of it because we would turn it, do the Freebird thing with it, where we sped
Mm.
it up and just kept the chord structure, but just started rocking and ripping, going hard. But yeah, we do that on El
Yeah.
Cerrito Place. It was cool.
Uh, yeah, here's one y'all could probably have a ton of fun with, John O'Reilly, or Barlight. That those
Eh,
seem like songs you could turn into some shred dirt.
Oh,
But
no question.
I
Probably,
loved his ballads.
yeah,
Indianola.
yeah.
In fact, the last two tracks on was that Life of the Party?
Mhm.
I don't know. Indianola and uh Molly's Blues.
Molly's Blues.
Just
See,
beautiful songs.
great songs.
And
Big
so,
City.
and what's hilarious is like the dramatic, like these ballads he writes, and then you look at
Yeah,
the lyrics and you're like, what a shithead.
yeah.
Like he's telling these hilarious stories, this dramatic music, and then you read the lyrics and you're like, oh, that's pretty hilarious. Nice, well done.
Well, oh 04, Big City Blues on Good Times is another phenomenal song. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the same album that has New Year's Day, El Cerrito Place, which are two of his biggest. Big
Char-
City, Big
Charlie's
City Blues.
albums, you didn't ever need to skip a track.
Yeah, there was so many great songs on each of those records. And I remember when we left to go out and play in Carlsbad earlier this summer, which was kind of a special hometown show for me. And we were driving back to Texas. Right as we crossed over the border from New Mexico into Texas, Carson leaned over to me and said, I need you to play Loving County, because we were about to be driving through Loving
Yeah,
County. So we did it. And that was a cool moment for us as a band. But yeah, Charlie is such a special influence, and
y'all,
the
y'all
world's
should.
a much darker place with him not in it.
Yeah, y'all should definitely see if you can come up with a shred dirt version of John O'Reilly. That might blow the roof off of an event.
I'll pitch. We'll see what happens.
But
Yeah, we love Charlie. Rest in peace. We'll definitely be playing a lot of his stuff this week, no question. So any plugs we got this week? Anything fun going on?
no, actually, this kind of a standard week. This by the time this comes out, we'll obviously be past it. But today's 9/11, so
Yep,
special day of remembrance.
of
This
course.
was actually the only thing really on my task list today. I took the rest of the day off. So I'm gonna watch some documentaries and just kind of reflect and remember and reach out to some buddies. So,
Yep, special
but
day.
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
It's I can't believe I can't believe it's been 22 years.
22 years.
Um,
I vividly remember I
it's
was I
just
was in fourth grade watching it on one of the little roll-in TVs when
well,
the second tower got hit.
It's like I think I might have said this, some seasons ago, but everybody, as long as you're old enough to remember anything, you remember where you were.
Yep.
My dad said the same thing when he found out news that Kennedy was assassinated. Like he remembers where he was on campus and what he was doing
Yep.
when he heard the news. Just big landmark kind of national changing events. Generally you remember it, and I just that's today.
Mhm.
But other than that, like I don't have anything to plug. Just my kind of my standard stuff. Ribs Real Estate and Ramblings on Friday. We released one with Marka Ewer Shirtliff, who if you don't know who she is, she's married to Hunter Shirtliff, and I call her the much more important and better part of the power couple that the Shirtliffs are. But she's an absolute hoot too. She's a Bryan City Councilman. She's a lawyer.
Mhm.
But she's a farmer at heart. She's just so sweet. She's so hilarious. So we got to sit down, and I put that out on Friday. Yeah, but other than that, just plugging along, man. Same old Bach Realty Group. If you've got any real estate questions, want to find out the value of your home, what equity you built in it, or if you just have any questions about the market in general, I'm always happy to answer questions. And if I don't know the answer, I'm happy to find someone who does.
Exactly.
And I'll say it, beat the hell out of ULM.
Beat the hell out of ULM. My plug this week, if you look at my ball cap here, it's Old
What's
Sarge
our golf?
playing golf. Yeah. So the company is on Instagram. It's called Good Bull Golf. Good Bull, all
Mhm.
one word, _ golf on Instagram. They have a link to their website, which is also goodbullgolf.com. I'll be sure to link that whenever we post. But be sure to check them out. Great guys that make great hats. They're also doing, I believe, they're wanting to get into the polo game, but at least right now they're doing golf hats. This one,
That logo is elite.
it's so
If
good.
you can't quite see it, it's Old Sarge swinging a golf club.
Yeah, take a look
Yeah,
right
no,
here.
that's elite. That's gonna look great on a polo.
Yeah, so I love this hat. It's phenomenal. And yeah, I got it from them. They've got rope hats, they have non-rope hats, they've got trucker hats, they got a bunch of different styles. Be sure to go check them out. Once again, that's goodbullgolf.com. If you have not jumped in on Shred Dirt, I've got shirts. Be sure to go check them out. Once again, those will be linked. They will be places. Go check them out. I love them.
Oh, I got a quick circle back. We hosted a watch party on Saturday. Bach Realty Group. We partnered with we was at Four Down Sports Bar. So first, thanks to Four Downs for letting us we reserved the whole place. It was a private party.
Awesome.
And then thanks to Nathan Rich out of Fairway Group BCS, we partnered with them to make the event possible. So outside of the outcome of the game, the event went great. It was great to reconnect with clients and just hang out with my peers and not have to sit around and talk real estate. It's
Yeah.
nice to be able to enjoy their company outside of work.
Absolutely. Well, guys, if you don't already and you need something to keep you going through the week, be sure to follow us on X and or Twitter, depending on the questions of who, whatever you want to call it this week. It is what it is. Be sure to follow along with us. It's Roy May 15 and Rob the Slapper. Be sure to follow us both on there. And of course, at the RedAss podcast, if you have questions about upcoming topics that you want to get into, you want to just fire in your own stuff, we're more than happy to post about it, as well as share your questions, and we will definitely do that. Anything else you got?
That's all I got, man. Have a great week. And by the way, thank the Lord, get some rain.
Yes, definitely looking forward to the rain. Beat the hell out of ULM. Let's get some rain. Gig 'em. Have a great week.
Take 'em.